You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast, recognized as one of the top 100 diversity inclusion podcasts in the U.S. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies, I want to encourage you to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, which offers unique ways to positively address the often divisive topic of diversity, equipping helping professionals like you in your efforts to meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. If you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate the unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself, and if you find it encouraging, then share it with a friend so that they can be encouraged as well. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to try to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. Now, today I would like to share a few thoughts about the necessity of sacrificial accomplice allyship. So, this past weekend, across the nation, hundreds of thousands of people participated in what many called No Kings rallies, expressing their concern for what many believe to be a political trend toward authoritarianism in this country. While many find the specific goals of these protests to be less clear than they would like, what is clear is that hundreds of thousands of people expressed with their physical presence and their voices what many others who were not in person there also felt, that something needs to change in order to reverse a trend that has the potential to be devastating for this country and all the people in it. Now, as can be expected, not everyone shares these concerns, with many people being pleased with what they see from this country's leadership from top to bottom. For many of them, these rallies are not only unnecessary, but in many ways indicative of what's wrong in this country and thus why change is needed. In hopes of shedding light on what many believe to be hypocrisies in the message of those at these protests, a well-known YouTuber has gone viral for an attempt to catch protesters off guard with questions that reveal contradictions. In particular, one key part of a viral video shows an older white female protester being challenged to address the apparent lack of ethnic diversity among the protesters at the rally, presumably implying something to the effect of, if it's so detrimental and concerning to ethnic minorities in this country, then why wasn't it important enough for them to show up to the rally? And in her response, her answer was clearly not what he expected. This is what she said.
It is not for black people, for people of color to get out on the street. They're at risk when they do that. If anybody's going to get arrested here, it's going to be a black person. It is not safe for them, and they don't need to participate. We need to walk in their name.
Lost for words, and without a snappy gotcha comeback to offer, the YouTuber simply responded, "Wow, okay." To put it simply, this was awesome. This woman's response conveyed in just a few words not only what many people feel, but what many others needed to hear. And for a few key reasons, I think this response reflects the necessity of sacrificial accomplice allyship. Here's the first thing to consider. Being an accomplice isn't average allyship. Supportive average allyship is great in that it finds ways to work within existing power structures to advocate for marginalized groups, increasing awareness and encouraging change. This is very much needed and appreciated when it happens. Similar but different, accomplices work directly with marginalized groups to disrupt and dismantle oppressive systems, often taking direct actions that might violate conventional policy to advance equity. Basically, accomplices intentionally take on a greater risk to bring awareness as well as change. This woman in the interview reflected that perfectly as she acknowledged that there's a trend of law enforcement officers to unequally direct their law enforcement efforts toward marginalized groups more so than their majority counterparts. Sure, there are many exceptions to these trends, but that's how averages work. Yes, if there's going to be arrests made, statistics show that while some in the ethnic majority might also get arrested as well, many in the minority will get arrested. If both happen to get arrested, many more in the minority will experience physical aggression as a part of that arrest, being treated as if they deserved what came to them due to their disruption. While they watch those in the majority, if they also get arrested, get handled with care, almost as if they apologetically had to enforce the law but preferred not to. Again, while these are not hard and fast rules or absolute 100% stats, these do reflect the direct experiences of many who have experienced these protest confrontations. This woman, not being her first time, not only acknowledged this trend, but sought to spread the word about it. She took a moment intended to judge their absence and instead justified it based on past experiences, reinforcing what many of the concerns people had needing to be addressed by leadership meant to serve everyone, not just for some. A second thing to consider is this. Accomplished allyship speaks not just to the mistreator, but also to the mistreated. What do I mean by this? Well, many who heard this interview felt a light bulb go on over their heads. A new insight was gained. They may have been inclined to see a lack of diversity in attendees, come to a similar conclusion regarding why people just couldn't bother to show up and advocate for themselves. And as a result of her answer, were open to another legitimate conclusion, opening their eyes to one of the many factors that contribute to what people say or don't say, not just on the streets of a protest, but also in their jobs and other environments. Many individuals from marginalized groups heard that statement and felt validated, not just in their decision to watch from home and see how it goes, hoping for the best, but also in the legitimacy of their caution. There are many times when people feel inclined to speak up, shout aloud, take to the streets and march to get their often ignored and minimized voices heard in hopes of eliminating the unnecessary barriers and resistance to their efforts to meet their own needs. And there are many times when the difficult decision is made to not participate in every situation. There are a lot of reasons that go into why for each particular incident, whether that be a desire to not be singled out and taken to jail at a protest, or used as a scapegoat at work and downsized after being an inconvenience at work. This interviewer's message made it clear. I have the privilege to take that risk. They don't. That's what the interviewee said. It's too much for them to take that risk to be out here. But not only can we take that risk, the consequences aren't even the same if we do. And that's where the third consideration comes in. Accomplished allyship avoids the saviorism trap. While accomplished allyship is willing to take action on behalf of a marginalized group, saviorism is different. Saviorism does so while making it all about them. They are the savior who is swooping in to help those who can't help themselves. Maybe they aren't smart enough to help themselves. Maybe they're not strong enough. Maybe they're not motivated enough, but we see their need and are willing to help them do what they don't or won't do for themselves. You're welcome. Aren't we great? That's not what happened here. Here, there's an acknowledgement of the fact that it's important to marginalized groups. And under different circumstances, they could and would be out there as well. But in this circumstance, it wouldn't even be wise for them to do so. That cost benefit analysis math doesn't add up. She said it's not safe for them and they don't need to participate. Here's the key. We need to walk in their name, not our name, their name. We are not walking for our recognition. We're walking to bring attention to their need because we have the privilege not to have to worry about the same consequences they might have in the same situation. This is a great message. In being an ally, remember to keep the focus on the change you're hoping to see and the unmet needs you're hoping to get met. You are just a messenger and a conduit of that change. That's all. And that's important. And to those in need, that's more than enough. With all that being said, my hope for you is that you would be continually on the lookout for opportunities to be an ally to someone with an unmet need around you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have explicit authority or positional power. You can simply bring awareness and encourage change. Sometimes that can be done politely and within a system structure. And other times, the only way people will listen is to disrupt the system and to make them so inconvenienced that consenting to change is the more convenient alternative. Maybe standard supporter allyship will be enough for the next need you see. But if it's not, then I encourage you to consider standing in the gap and saying what you can say, but what might be more risky if someone else said it, and be a part of the change that not only benefits some, but which ultimately benefits us all. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you found it positive and insightful, then be sure to like and subscribe so I'll know which topics you'd like me to share more on in the future, and share with a friend so they can be encouraged as well. You can also get my free guide on how your organization can learn positive and shame-free empowering strategies for cultivating a culturally safe work environment for you and everyone on your team simply by visiting lambertsfisher.com/playbook. Or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to check out TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Want to own a home, especially your first? Well then, welcome home to the Old National Bank Down Payment Assistance Program. We're here to help you from start to finish and make getting a mortgage a little easier. Plus, you may be eligible for up to $15,000 to use toward your down payment. How's that for a little easier? Everyone deserves a place to call home and a bank to help get them there. Connect with an Old National mortgage lender to learn more. Old National Bank. Get old in your new home.
When she walked in on her first day at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas, she didn't know a soul.
I'm Zion, and I'm a second year at DFC.
A year later, and so many changes for Zion.
I love my friends here. I couldn't do anything without them. We support each other all the time.
At Doherty Family College, Zion also finds support on the academic side. Like all DFC students, Zion can count on a team committed to her success. Doherty Family College is Minnesota's affordable private college option. DFC students earn their associate's degree and then can transition to a 4-year college or university for their bachelor's. Many are students of color or first in their family to go to college.
It's nice to see people that look like you pursuing an education, wanting to succeed academically.
Zion encourages any high school student looking for a college home to do what she did and apply to Doherty Family College.
All the support you could need is here.
Ready to make your move and experience Doherty Family College for yourself? Then schedule your visit to the Minneapolis campus at dfc.stthomas.edu/visit.